folks, and welcome to the International CONFEX Webinar series. My name is Martin Fullard. I think many of you probably know that by now, the editor of Conference News and the editorial director at MASH Media. I've tried to jazz up the environment today because the artificial Christmas tree and all the decorations in the box just wasn't screaming professional enough. So today's session is called Staying Connected with Your Community During a Pandemic, as I'm sure you'll all agree that has been quite a crucial component. And joining me today, I think you'll agree, is someone who is more than qualified to talk about the subject. A big welcome to the Delegate Wranglers founder, Neil Thompson. How are you, Neil?
Hello, Marty. Yeah, hello, everybody. I'm really good, thank you, considering it's dull and rainy here. But yeah, I'm all right.
Dull, rainy, lockdown, misery and despair everywhere. What could possibly go wrong? So 2020 has obviously been a jolly big challenge for the events industry, certainly the biggest challenge we've faced in the modern era. Businesses have, of course, had to think outside of the box, particularly those who organise events and engage with communities in other sectors. And it's never been more important because we've not been able to meet up together, in live environments. Building a community online has had the emphasis placed on it in a different light, I suppose. So we want to hear your questions, audience. So please pop to the Q&A section, which you should find at the bottom in the normal place. If you don't know where that has been, where have you been for the last 10 months? So we want to hear your questions and we'll make time for that at the end. So Neil, obviously going to turn to you now. I'm going to quit rabbiting. And I've always been fascinated by Delegate Wranglers because I got added to it without even realizing by someone else a couple of years ago. So you launched in I think it was 2014, wasn't it? Yeah. And in 2020, you hit 20,000 members. Did you ever think it would take off like that?
Oh, yeah, it was all a big master plan. No. To be honest, people may have heard the story before, but, I was a working event manager until last year. So I had my own freelance company since 2005. And then in 2014, I thought, well, I'll set up a Facebook group to help me do my job better, because as a freelancer, you're often siloed, you're often on your own. So you've got no one to bounce ideas off. So I thought I would set the group up with, a few people, other freelancers who are new and a few other agency people that are new in the industry, but it was just purely just event managers. There was no, there was no suppliers in there or anything. And I probably stayed like that for about 2 years. By that point, though, suppliers were kind of hammering down the door to say, we joined this group because there's a lot of, buyers looking for answers to questions. So it started out people just recommending, people that they'd worked with before. But it then moved on to, we then allowed like suppliers in, so that they could answer directly as well as getting recommendations from other event managers. They could answer themselves as well. So to answer your question, no, you know what? No, it didn't. But it just kind of grew organically. It just started growing and growing. And I mean, just like things that are good ideas, that generally tends to happen. Rather than sometimes when you plan something out too much, it doesn't happen the way you want it. But this kind of grew organically. And I think what I did was I just kind of developed it slowly and just, it took its time to get to where we are. We did get to a point in about 2018 when it went crazy. 2017, 2018, when lots and lots of people were joining and hearing it, but there was a buzz about it. And I always say it's like pushing a snowball up a mountain. It's hard, and you get to a peak, and then suddenly it goes down the other side and it gathers momentum, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's kind of what happened. So I think in those first few years, it's just a matter of using it as a working, group the way everybody uses it. And then suddenly making the decision that, this could actually be something for the industry and a business for me as well. And then just developed it from there, to be honest. So, it's a mixture of, surprise. And then once we got to that point, I could see the way it was going. I could see the direction of travel. So it was just about nurturing the group and doing it in the right way, in the right time frame.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal success story. I've been in it since 2017, I think, and just to see it grow, and there's generally a very courteous sort of dialogue between people, and there's a real sense of camaraderie and community spirit. People want to help each other. It's a safe place where people can go to post their queries or recommendations and things, and I think it's really changed the way the event community talks among itself. And that sort of like brings me on to my next question, really. I mean, how have you had to evolve the group since the pandemic took hold? You know, it really started to bite in March last year. You know, it's always been about the sharing of business tips and things like that, but with no actual business in 2020 or in a live environment anyway. How have you had to sort of change your approach to that group, and what's the vibe been like?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for saying that about, the vibe of the group, because we're really hard on creating that and keeping that, and it's easy to let online forums. I'm sure we've all had experience of online forums, and we've seen a thread just go ballistic and crazy. So we've worked hard on creating a culture and a vibe on the group to be what it is now. So to answer your question about what we've done in 2020, well, of course, like everybody else, first of all, we were kind of stunned by what was going on, and then suddenly, in shock almost, like the way everybody was. But we very quickly had to adapt, because we kind of we're not representing, but we're a place for 20,000 people to come and talk about it, or to come and try and get business and things like that. So we had to adapt a lot. Basically, Marty, we did everything for free. We did everything on the group for free, because there was no money out there, but it was important to us to keep the community going and to keep the industry. Well, what we could, I'm not trying to say we represent the industry, but what we could control, we tried to make it a positive and engaging place for people. So we started things like the DW Live. I've got a list here, the DW Live show. We did free job listings. We're still doing free job listings, free event listings. Started doing our social events online. We did a big Christmas party online. We try and do initiatives to kind of put a smile on people's face, but also to keep them focused and positive. I mean, the DW Live shows were very much all about people upskilling and learning and connecting and making new connections and new ways of thinking. I was very much an advocate of using that time to look at yourself and look at your business and look at what you could improve and how you could maybe slightly adapt, or go completely different direction, because it was like a free hit. Some people were losing jobs and things like that. It gives them a chance to kind of do something they always wanted to do, or to train and to do something they wanted to do. So yeah, it was a matter of trying to keep everybody engaged. We created a thread for the COVID, any COVID kind of stories, because we very much wanted to keep the timeline free, the time thing free for proper inquiries, for people to still get business. And then, of course, what happened, Marty, as you know, the rise of online events kind of just sprung up from nowhere. So although you could say we were quieter with in real life events, really busy on that side, and all the different sections of the event industry that have grown out, fulfillment, online entertainment, so many different things have sprung up from it. So hopefully that will create even more work going forward. I know me and you have talked about hybrid being a kind of normal thing now. The word won't even be mentioned. It'll just be like, well, there's our in life and there's our online as well. We're doing that as well. So it's been, it was a rocky road at first. It was quite difficult to keep everyone upbeat when everybody, you've got to remember as well, it was tough for us as well. We were going through it. I was going through the loss of all our income. Me and Diana, COVID in the middle of it, in October. So, we had to show up every day and do this because we represented all these people. So, well, yeah, it's all about adapting, Marty, really, just kind of keeping the same vibe. We tried to keep the same vibe there, and hopefully, we've been quite successful at it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, even us at Mash Media, we're impacted. Everyone related to events in any way has been impacted by this. So yeah, you've got to show that leadership and be able to bring that community together and just, they say keep the spirits up, because little things like that just go such a long way. A problem shared is a problem halved. Very real problems out there for a lot of people. The loss of a job, the loss of income can mean the loss of a home, and more and worse. And it's a terrifying time for so many people. And like you say, just having a close-knit community of people going through the same thing, again, it's just that sort of cohesion that helps get you through. I want to kind of move on and ask you about what you've just launched, the Delegate Wranglers, the Superstars. Is this part of the evolution? What's this about?
Yeah, it's part of the evolution. And I tell you what, I picked my moment moments to launch something, don't I? You know, just a few days after going into total lockdown, and you know, anyway. But yeah, we launched Superstars. It's been you know, probably 18 months in the coming, really, and it's quite a complex thing. But what we wanted to do was to give people the opportunity to enhance their membership of the Delegate Wranglers. I mean, people can still stay on the Delegate Wranglers exactly the same as it is and use it for free and use everything. But we've now got a couple of membership options for people, which gives them kind of some added benefits. Like we've got a Superstars hour, which is a specific exclusive hour just for those people, a bit like Supplier Hour and Event Hour, but they can post once a week in that. So that's like an extra 52 adverts a year, if you like. It's got other benefits of, you know, we've got all the partners that we work with. You get a kind of enhanced directory listing with us and more prominence. But the biggest thing it's got is the Superstars program that we've got. So what that allows people to do is to send the profile link that's on our directory to their clients that they've worked with, asking for a quick testimonial. It's not like a review. We're not saying how many stars to give us or anything like that. We're just saying, do you want to give them a superstar and a review? So people will build up those positive jobs that they've done for people. And then when the questions come in on the Delegate Wranglers, we want them to quote them and say, I've got 52 superstars. Here's my read all the testimonials. So we're kind of saying, let your client, it's about time there's a place where you could let your clients do the talking for you. And because, you know, it's so authentic, so genuine. You know, they're the people who've worked with you in the past. It's not just a website telling you we're brilliant. It's actually other real life clients telling you they were brilliant. So it's an enhancement for that, really. So it's going really, really well. I mean, considering that, you know, when we've launched, lots of interest, loads of people signed up. You know, we've had nothing but positive things about it, to be honest. So, and lots of plans as well. And there's some that I can't tell you that I really want to tell you, but lots of plans for it as well.
Come on, I gave you loads of juicy off the record stuff before we came on air. You can tell me later.
Okay, maybe. No, but it's going really well. Thanks.
Good. Glad to hear it. So before we move on to where we could offer some practical advice to our audience, I just wanted to maybe just round off this half of our discussion by asking about, you know, the purpose of a community in our world is more than just about the events. Have you seen new friendships form, new business relationships form?
Absolutely. You know what? Totally new alliances form. You know, people, and I know me and you have been big advocates of this again, Marty, but collaborating is, you know, this is a time when we all need to work together and get ourselves back on a, you know, an even keel again. There's no such thing as kind of competitors at the moment, I don't think, or, you know, there has been for the last year. I've been banging on about it. We should all be collaborating and working together and trying to help each other and get through this. You know, there's so many alliances to be made, and so many have been made on the group. I mean, because we get messages all the time, you know, oh, I got a job through this, or I met that person, or I got a lead from that. Honestly, we get them all the time. So many to even mention. But I think it's because people have seen it as a place to collaborate. You know, when we've had like live events, for instance, you know, people have got to know each other, and it's just amazing to see that thing. I always think in adversity, things like that really grow up a lot stronger. I don't know if you're experiencing that as well, but that's what it's been like for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you say, it's part of the, not so much a public community as such, but with one industry, one voice, being part of that. Been a really humbling experience, you know, which started at a Mash Media event back.
I was there.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just a case of, right, get everyone from every different part of the industry in a room, the associations mainly, and some of the big venues, and who knows what we could achieve. And, you know, I've met some new people I've known for years, but have now become good friends with them. So I guess there's almost a paradox there, that I've actually become friends with these guys through online conversation rather than through live experience. It's a weird paradox, I guess. It goes against everything we're saying, but you know, that sort of thing wouldn't have happened otherwise.
It's always been the elephant in the room, hasn't it? You know,
it's found its identity. Okay, there's a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong, you know, we're not going to fix it overnight, but for the first time ever, it feels like the industry has got almost like a common goal. We know what we need to do. We know exactly how we need to fit into government. And the next message now is, of course, placing us and actually getting that conversation. And that has all been achieved by community, not just one individual, by community. And I think that's the importance of the whole thing. And I think that's, if we don't learn a lesson from this, then more fool us, really.
And you know, the other thing I'd say, Mark, the elephant in the room is before all of this, I don't know about you, but whenever anybody said to me, can we have a Skype call? I was like, oh, yeah. You know, but now everybody's communicating with a Zoom call. It's not like I'll call you, it's like kind of Zoom you, or, you know, or whatever kind of Teams.
Anymore. That's like MySpace. It's like probably old.
Yeah. It's like nobody has a mobile phone to bring anyone anymore. You know, what's the point?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it is connecting people in that way. You're actually seeing things face to face, and then you get a better relationship with somebody always that way.
Yeah. So let's talk about actually building a community then, and see if we can give our audience some tips, because over the course of the last 10 months or so, I've seen several little groups pop up within social media, Facebook mostly, and so on. I guess a lot of them have been centered around a particular subject or a particular area of the field, like a production group or a local geography, a local area, and things like that. And I find it fascinating. I'm part of many of them as an observer. I guess I try not to get too involved with the actual discussions, but there's clearly a desire to do it. People want to feel connected. What would you say, in your experience, are the key pillars for setting up and maintaining a valuable community? And I've emphasized the word valuable there.
Yeah, great question, Marty. I think if you're starting from scratch, you know, you need to know, first of all, what the purpose of your group is. What are you trying to achieve? You know, you can't just, I mean, if you make it really vague, like, you know, I'm gonna start a London group, that could go anywhere, you know. But I think if you can make it fairly niche to what you want, know what the purpose is that you want to achieve from connecting people, that's the first thing I'd do. Then I'd know what type of members you want. You know, you may want a certain type of member or a certain type of person to join in or not to join or whatever. I don't mean being exclusive. I just mean you might want people who are, you know, events, like we really want events people and event suppliers. So we kind of sometimes say no to people who aren't, because we worry that it might upset the equilibrium of the group. I think you need to clearly set out guidelines for how the behavior of the group should be. And I don't mean really strict, like, you know, people say to me, God, I've heard somebody say, God, the delegate rank is run with an iron. It's like run with an iron fist. It's not. We just deliver what we say. We just say event hours until this time. That's it. You know, we're just really clear about it. We're really fair about it. So that's one thing I'd say is, you know, educating people on the guidelines of the group and how you want the culture and the vibe, let's call it. The vibe is probably a good way of doing it. You need to create that yourself. So you need to behave that way. Whereas if you get on and you're arguing with people, it's going to be look like that's a free-for-all place, and you know that's the way it is. So I think it's up to you to kind of lead by example of the way you want the group to be. I'd say the biggest thing is showing up. Show up every day. You know, you need to show. I don't mean every day of your life. I mean show up regularly. You know, be there for people and deliver what you say you're going to do. Be consistent. Everyone appreciates consistency. I've written a few more things. We've got things like, you know, how to manage conflict. We've got like a document, you know, so if there ever is anybody, you see two people that's having an argument, you know, we know what to do, and we clearly state that this is the way we deal with these things. On the flip side, I'd say be fun, be varied, you know, keep it exciting, keep it fresh. Don't just always do the same thing, you know, bring new things in, try new things, always be kind of thinking forward what you would want to feel like if you were a member of a group. And most of all, stick to what you know. You know, stick to what you know. Do something that you're good at. And then one last little tip is sometimes you need to adapt as well. So although you should be sticking to what you know and delivering that, sometimes you need to adapt. So it's a matter of recognizing when you might need to slightly adapt the way you're doing things on the group. But most of all, you know, just have fun with it, you know, and be friendly with people. You know, set the atmosphere yourself. You can set it, and you can stop the way, you know, if somebody's being nasty, you can step in, and people appreciate it, because one thing, especially nowadays, probably even more so than in 2014 when I started, it needs to be a safe place. You know, going out these days of people going on and bullying people and doing all this kind of stuff. So you need to create a safe space. And then what we did was we created, I mean, we're lucky enough that the industry we're in is a business environment and people really understand how to do business. So we've got a hashtag, we mean business, because that's what we're all about. We don't allow any kind of memes and all that kind of thing. It's not because, me, Mark, I've got, think I've got a good sense of humour. Don't mention anything about supporting Liverpool.
No, I was going to say support Liverpool. I'll let that go.
Anyway, yeah. But it's not that. It's just that, you wouldn't go into a greengrocer's to buy a fish, kind of thing. So it's what we do. This is what we do here. So we just want people to come on, put inquiries, get business, find jobs, find events. That's what we do. So just focus on, be confident about what you're good at. Hope that helps.
So let's just bullet point those again for the audience. It was obviously, first of all, what was it? Define your purpose, wasn't it?
Yeah, know what your purpose is. Know your type, the types of people, the group that you want to attract is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Set out some guidelines and keep people educated, keep regularly mentioning, what your guidelines are so they understand. Show up, be there for people, deliver what you say, be consistent. People really appreciate it. We as I say, we've got a document for managing conflict. It's always handy to have, and again, people appreciate it. You've got something like that, and then be fun, be varied, keep it exciting. Keep moving forward, keep thinking of fresh things, and then stick to what you know, but also adapt when you need to. I know they sound contradictory, but there is a point when you could just be sticking to what you know and not changing. You have to really sometimes take a step back and think, hang on a minute, we're not perfect all the time. We're not right all the time. Accept that.
I guess you need to also be, because obviously and we'll come on to this in a moment, you're obviously on Facebook. That's, that's where your hub is. You obviously need to, people will be coming to you for news as well. So I know that you share a lot of my content, a lot of content from conference news and exhibition news and the rest as well. You almost have to be a news agency as well, don't you? Really?
Do you know what? A little bit, yeah. One of the other things we did during lockdown during 2020 and still doing is good news stories. So when people were saying, "Oh, we've just took on some new people," or "We've just launched this," or or "We've won this award," we would obviously post them up for people as well. But then you're right, we would get sent news articles, and sometimes me and you would chat and say, work together and say, "Can we put this both on?" And we have to be that. We have to be that hub just to kind of create a bit of interest. I mean, that's one hat that I'm finding hard to juggle. So keep wearing, because yourself. I mean, you're flat out all the time delivering all the news and stuff like that. We're no way are we trying to take over mass media or any other news outlets like that. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to touch on and keep people interested in what's going on, really. Just with a light touch, we'll put one news story up a day or something, just to kind of create a bit of interest, really.
No, like you say, it's all about sharing information and sharing content, and we obviously seem to have that sort of connection, which is great. Yeah. My next question then really is, you've reeled off a lot there. I know firsthand the sort of management and the level that goes into it. I mean, is it really labor intensive? I mean, if someone in our audience is considering setting up a group, should they really think hard about the work that actually goes into policing it? Because the minute you start letting it slip and it becomes a free-for-all, social media can become a very nasty place very quickly. If I could, I'd leave Twitter tomorrow, because I scan it and I get no joy at all, because it's just poison. So you have got a responsibility.
Yeah.
I suppose, there are rules that must be enforced, and you've got to stay on top of it. What would be your message to aspiring group managers there?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think with public forums, they can be a bit wild. And I'm not massive on Twitter myself as a person using it. We got a Delegate Wranglers account, which we put up. We kind of put everything that we do on there. We repeat it on all our social media channels, and we try and engage with people. We've had a few Twitter chats and things like that. But I think when you start something like a Facebook group, you're in control of that, particularly if it's a closed group. So you can clearly, I mean, in Facebook, you get to be able to state a set of rules. Easy for me to say. So people can understand, what you're coming from. You only get 10, and believe it or not, it's really difficult to kind of put exactly the vibe that you want to create in there. So you can do it. That things like that help, and people have to agree to those rules when they come into the group. So you can kind of set the stall off. We were lucky enough to work with Scaramanga and create an onboarding video. So we've got onboarding videos now, funky animated things that are a bit fun for people to watch as well. So things like that really help. Obviously, that's going to cost you money as well. But I would say, once again, show up. Be there every day. Be consistent in what you do. But once you've got the guidelines in place, to be honest, Marty, it runs itself 99% of the time. You'll get the odd person who will break the rules, and you just have to be. I don't like saying that, break the rules, because I'm not like the internet police, but we're just trying to be the same for everybody. That's one thing we are on the Delegate Wranglers. We're really fair. Now, if you came to me, Marty, and said supplier hours finished and I want to post this up, it's 2 hours late, I'd say no. Even though we're good friends, I'd say no. So we have to be fair to everyone. It's just the easiest way to behave, and then everybody knows where they are.
Yeah, you're talking to someone who deals with press deadlines a lot. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like. It's gone. That's it. Just squeeze it in. Yeah. So it's all about that. But to be honest, Marty, I think when you're passionate about something, which I am about the event industry, it doesn't seem like work. It doesn't seem like work, and it's just can you imagine, like, we set up the Delegate Wranglers, and not all we see, but we see loads and loads of success stories. Somebody posting a query up, somebody a supplier winning that business. It's amazing. It's such a buzz because you see two happy people. You see the event manager with the problem solved and a really new supplier and a new connection made, and you see the supplier with business. And like we get that all the time, with jobs and events, and people come to things and making connections, and now I've started working with that person. It's such a positive thing for us. It doesn't seem like work, if you know what I mean. So showing up all the time and checking your messages, it becomes a bit, you kind of get into the flow of it, really. You can scan, and most of the time it runs itself. There are some good tools on Facebook as well. So we monitor comments as well. We monitor posts, we have to approve them, so we can kind of.
Yeah, that was my kind of next question, or my last question before we would go to the audience questions, really, which was a bit more of the why did you choose Facebook for the Delegate Wranglers? I know you've got a presence, like you said, on Twitter, and there's a presence on LinkedIn. You're active on LinkedIn personally as well. How do those platforms actually interconnect with each other? Is it all filtered back to the Facebook group? Why was it Facebook from the start? I mean, some people I see actually going to build their own proper website community forum for that. To me, it seems social media is there for the taking, but I'm just curious as to your thought process.
Yeah, another great question. I mean, to be honest, Facebook at the time, don't forget, when I set this up at the time, it was probably the only thing around that had things like that. Like LinkedIn's got LinkedIn groups, but it's nowhere near like the way Facebook groups is. It's not as interactive. I think the biggest winning point for Facebook is, against having your own platform, everybody's got it. It's on everybody's phone. There's hardly anybody who's not got Facebook. We're hearing about new things that they're bringing in as well, where you might be able to have a kind of separate profile for groups and things like this. So that would be great. So some people say, well, I don't want to go on my personal one because I want to keep them separate. Well, if that comes in, that'll be fantastic, wouldn't it? But Facebook is definitely the right place for us. I mean, it allows us, you can freeform. I don't know what the limit is on how big your post can be, but it can be huge. So you can post videos, it just fitted really well with all the tools that it had for us. We've not seen any reason to kind of deviate beyond that. Now we've had to adapt with the website, with Superstars, because unfortunately there's nothing like that we can build into Facebook. Believe me, I keep suggesting it to you, but there isn't anything there yet at the moment. But yeah, I mean, and with the other social media accounts, we generally repeat the things that we do on the Facebook group is the daddy, if you like, and then everything else gets repeated on those and linked back into the Facebook page. But we put a lot of our news stories on our website, try and drive some traffic to that as well. And we put, a lead article on the Facebook group with a link to the group. We're just trying to cross reference so the Delegate Wranglers is a kind of hub for, whatever platform you're on, you can see everything really. But to get the most out of the group, you definitely have to be, part of the Facebook group. And don't forget, Marty, we're lucky enough to be official managed partners of Facebook. So, we work together with Facebook because we are I don't know if we're one of the only, but we're certainly one of the biggest Facebook groups that's run as a business. So most Facebook groups are companies that have then gone onto Facebook, whereas we were on Facebook and then become a company. Yeah. We've done it the other way around.
It's quite unique. I couldn't pull another example out of the hat of something similar.
And it was really, it's a massive achievement. I mean, we're so happy about that relationship that we've got. We try on new things with us. They tell us what's coming. We help them do stuff. They help us. It's just a really fantastic relationship, and also knowing that you got someone on the inside to help you whenever you have a problem, it's really good. But yeah, I mean, Facebook is definitely the place for us. We love it. Yeah, to be honest.
Right. Okay. I'm now going to jump onto some audience questions. So,
be gentle. Gentle, guys.
Luckily for you, they've all come from the same person, our good friend, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous Attendee. So anonymous attendee is well represented today. Okay, it's a couple of, I'll start you off with an easy one. Even I'd be interested to know the answer to this. What type of news story have you found people have engaged with the most this year?
If only I knew the editor of a magazine, I could ask him. Oh, hello, Marty. Well, for I mean, speaking for us personally, I think the really good news stories about people, opening a new business or starting a new business or winning an award, they're the ones that are having the best kind of feedback. Same question to you, Marty. Is it like that for you as well? Or?
Anything that involves the government actually making a bloody decision, I think, is generally considered popular.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I think when we got the the October start date, which was actually announced in July, don't forget, before it was pulled away, I had 107,000 users that month. That was a record.
Wow.
So my analytics is kind of like this, and there's a massive spike. So that was certainly a massive story. But yeah, anything involving something coming out of Westminster on a scale like that is always going to be a winner. And you see,
lockdown is over. Can you imagine that post, Marty?
Do you know what annoys me is they use the same term as Brexit. It won't be an event; it'll be a process, which means
no, we just want a day. We want a countdown.
It's like do you want to go on massive fireworks display somewhere all around the country. When we're told we can come out of our houses, street parties, just like it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really
Let's start it, Marty. Let's start the movement.
Yeah, you do it. I'm that.
No, you do it.
Another couple of questions. Okay, I think we've sort of covered that. That's a good one. I'm going to ask it. During this time when live events aren't happening so often, how frequently would you say is an appropriate amount of time to be communicating with a B2B audience? It's hard to try and stay connected with them when there isn't a lot of interesting things going on. So this goes back to what we were saying earlier. We're in this weird downtime place at the moment. How often should you be communicating with your audience?
Great question. I think if you're a supplier and you're trying to communicate with your clients, and I'm assuming that's what this person means. I think, one thing to do is to not go quiet. I wouldn't go completely quiet and silent, because you don't want, you think about how long you've taken to build up that relationship with that person. You just don't want to throw it away by not doing anything. I would keep your presence up on social media, whether that's every few days or every day, just something, a light touch. What I would say is a light touch rather than a heavy touch. You don't want to be sending and bombarding them with full on, here's our media pack and when are you going to buy from us kind of thing. I think you just want to be saying, we're around, we're just doing this, or we've renewed that, we've changed this, we've looked at this, and, that kind of thing. So I would say a light touch, hard to say, it depends on your relationship with your client, but certainly every week or two, surely, just some kind of a communication, or tagging them in on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. But certainly I don't think it's the time to be hitting people with heavy artillery sales tactics.
Okay, we got one from from EvCom's Claire Featherlow that's come in. I'm going to read hers out because anonymous attendee is hogging the limelight. We'll come back to one of those. Are you able to give an indication of how many users you have? I presume that means more active users than just members. And at what point did it tip over into being a more self-sustaining group? Interesting.
Okay, so we have got 21,000 members of the group. So we get stats on Facebook that tells you how many active members you've got. And by active, that means have either commented, have either posted themselves, replied, liked, or at very worst, it's seen it on their news feed. And they've kind of more than just scrolled through it. They've actually looked at it in a certain amount of time. So that's what they define as an active member. So ours is generally anywhere between 75% and 85%. So we have 15,000. That's in every 28 days. So every 28 days, we've got 3/4 of the group using the group, which is one of the reasons why Facebook it piqued their interest, because of the activity levels we've got. So people, I think what it is, Marty, I think people want to tune in and see what's going on. It's good to see what other people are doing, and, you know, to have a little bit of a nose and to keep you. It's a way of putting your finger on the pulse of the industry, really, because I don't know if there's anywhere else quite like that, really. You know, that's like in a forum type place, that committed, if you like. And to answer the second part of the question, when did it go from being self-sustaining? I'd say probably, I don't know, 10,000 people. But, you know, we had a kind of good formula, really. It's quite hard to, you know, it's all about thinking of the right formula and connecting the right sets of people together that are both going to get something from the group. So that's the difficulty that most got. And the good thing as well we've got is our group is pretty much 50-50. It's something like 40% buyers, 60% suppliers. So it's a kind of fairly even. You need the right balance of people as well. That's my other bit of advice I'd say to people.
Right, we've got 3 more questions. They're all quite good, so I'm going to see if we can rush through them in the. Well, technically we've got 3 minutes, but I'm going to run it to 4:45 just so we can squeeze the comments in. Okay, so top of our anonymous again. I'm a freelance agent, and when I use the Facebook group during the specified times, I seem to get a message to say I have not posted during the times. How does delegate wranglers work for me? That's a freelancer.
I can only think that means that refers to the various hours that we have. Yeah. So just in case anybody's not aware, we don't allow promotional posts on the group because it would just be full of adverts. So we have specific hours for people to promote themselves. So we have a freelancer hour on a Monday. Going to test my knowledge here. Monday 7 till 8. We're actually doing +1, so it's like we're doing 2 hours now, 7 till 9. Then we have a supplier hour at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, and on a Friday we have the event hour. So those things are self-explanatory. So as I say, we're quite strict about the time, so you have to post within those times. I mean, we advertise it well. It's on our cover page. It's everywhere. You know, we do mention it. We do kind of preview them all that they're coming up. So apologies if that person has posted outside of the hours. That'd be the only reason we would do it, or if it was in the wrong hour. You know, sometimes we just have to let people know.
Remind us, when is the freelance
hour is 7 till 9 at the moment, every Monday.
Okay, great. And that's an opportunity for freelancers to post their availability.
Availability of the experience, you know, what they've done, you know, what they're up to, that kind of thing. You know, as I say, just staying in touch with people, you know, like I say, do it every couple of weeks or whatever. It's a bit difficult at the moment because there's not much going on, but still post.
Nothing good. Okay, right, another one quickly. Okay, I assume this person has got a group for venues. So how can I contact venues when the venues are closed and staff constantly on furlough? We're desperately trying to have more venues join us.
That's a really difficult one, because I think if you push it and there's nothing doing, you're possibly going to be more damaging. I don't know about you, Marty, but I think it's a bit of a waiting game on that. You can't, you know, what's happening typically is a venue or a group that had, you know, 10 sales staff has gone down to 2 people because all the others are furloughed. And those 2 people are up the wall, crazy busy. So I think if you go, like I said before, I think if you go in too heavy-handed with communicating with people, you potentially, you know, risk ruining that relationship that you build up. I think it's just a light touch, guys. You know, just be patient. You know, and if they say to you, you know, there's nothing doing for 3 or 4 weeks, you know, diary it and follow up then. But it's difficult, though, really difficult.
I guess our message then to that question would be, you've got to justify the group's value. If your group is worth its salt, if you're posting good content and there is a clear value, then those venue members will come round eventually when they learn of its value.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree. Good point.
Okay, last question then before we pack it in. What, Neil, would you recommend as a good way to encourage association clients to buy into having a community? As event professionals, we can see the value, but how do we recommend we communicate this value? I think
that's a really tough question.
It is.
I think it's about making your group include something that's going to be there for, there's something that they're going to be wanting to join. There's got to be a reason for it, rather than just, well, we want that, event association to, that association to join, for what reason, what are they going to do? I think it's all about content. The thing that you mentioned just then a second ago, Marty, content is a really good point. It's all about content. If you can drive content and reasons for people to go, and to have a bit of FOMO that they can't, if I'm not there, I'm going to miss out on something. That's what you want to try and create. It's a really tough question, though. Yeah, it's the eternal question. Okay, I've just seen that last question.
Yeah. Do you want to answer it? Will Everton finish above Liverpool?
Come on. What do you think?
I'm neutral.
You're not neutral.
I am. I have to be. My colleague Paul Colston is.
Beat us in a cup final. You're not neutral.
I'm on his side as well,
No, of course we are.
Good. Okay, Neil, it has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for making the time. Delegate Wranglers just goes from strength to strength. You're a true inspiration as far as building communities is concerned, and all credit to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Marty, thanks so much. And I just want to say on behalf of the event industry as well, thank you for everything you're doing. I know personally how hard you work. I know you answer my messages at 10 o'clock at night and stuff like this. So I want to say thank you to you, because you're just doing an amazing job. And thanks for everyone for tuning in as well.
Thanks, Neil. And we'll be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. for next week's International CONFEX Webinar, and the subject of which escapes me because I didn't check before we came on air. No matter. See you next week. Thank you.